Welcome. Today I want to talk about pain with a purpose. I read in a book recently the following quote: "The river would lose its song if the rocks were removed." Now just consider that for a moment. As the water flows over the rocks in a stream, there truly is a song, a special reflective sound. And if we remove the stones from the river, from the stream, from the brook, suddenly the water silently floats along as if it doesn't even exist, as if it's not even there. Now, when the Apostle Peter was busy writing 1 Peter, his first letter, he was writing it to the scattered Jewish Christians, the believers who are undergoing intense persecution for their faith. And he reminds his readers of the following. Go with me to 1 Peter 1, verse 3. 1 Peter 1, verse 3. And the Bible reads, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." So, don't be surprised when suffering comes your way. We ought to actually expect it, to prepare for it, to respond to it correctly. And be sure that you're suffering for doing what is right and not for doing what is wrong. We need to imitate Christ in our submissive spirit toward one another. And God will richly reward you when the trials of life are over. You see, there are few things that bring delight to a parent's heart than a fistful of flowers that have been picked and delivered by a small child. A few things are sadder to look at than the same bouquet of flowers 3 days later, where they are fading away. Earthly glory fades with years, but not so with God's glorious gifts. They never fade away, but they grow steadily glorious. And we can read this in 2 Corinthians 3, verses 1 to 18 in our free time. Now, when you understand why a heavenly perspective is so important in dealing with your earthly problems. Why is it so important? If your inheritance in heaven is eternally safe, what does it matter if you suffer the loss of a few earthly possessions? If your faith is more precious than gold, according to 1 Peter 1:7, then the heat of adversity can only serve to refine it, not to ruin it, not to ruin your faith. Peter makes an obvious allusion to Christ when he quotes from Isaiah chapter 28, verse 16 in 1 Peter 2:6. He says, "Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone." You see, in biblical times, a stone was put where two walls met. And more than being just a foundation, the cornerstone helped align the building horizontally and vertically. And it's what held it together because of that perfect balance. And thus Christ is the all-important one on whom we, as living stones, are built into a spiritual house. Pain with a purpose. That's our focus. There is purpose in our suffering, particularly when we are suffering for doing what is right. God bless, and I'll see you next time as we continue to learn together.